Hello everybody and welcome. My name is Gavin Fish and this is my channel. Today we are looking at the death of Halyna Hutchins, the cinematographer who was killed on the set of a film named Rust in Santa Fe, New Mexico at a place called Bonanza Creek Ranch, which is a place that is a set for filming Westerns. We're going to take a look at the documentation in this case, and we're going to actually talk to a friend of mine who is a filmmaker who has some experience multiple times on the sets of films where there were guns involved. So I think what I'm going to do first is ask you, if you haven't subscribed yet and you like this kind of content, you think I've deserved it, please go ahead and subscribe. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you dislike this video, give it a thumbs down. I might be the only person on YouTube that asks for that, but it really is valuable to me because I want to know what kind of content you guys like. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is take a look at the documentation that we have in this case. I called the magistrate court down in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and there are actually more documents than this. What I have is one search warrant and affidavit, but according to the court clerk, there are actually 3 documents there. There are 2 search warrants along with their affidavits, and then there's a return report, which is required anytime there's a search warrant. But this was made available. What I'm showing you on screen was I found it online thanks to viewers who were watching out for it and gave me a shout out on that. But I'm working on getting the others as well. We'll have to take a look at those in subsequent videos. Now, if you're new to my channel, I'm just going to, and if you've never seen a search warrant, I'm just going to show you just broadly what the search warrant is, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty. Okay, the search warrant, usually if we request a search warrant, it comes back in 3 parts. First is the warrant itself. That is going to be signed by a judge. The second part of it is the affidavit, which is the part of the, and I'll scroll to it. This is the affidavit for search warrant. This is a document that is created by the investigator to show the judge what he or she thinks is probable cause to get a search warrant. And that is where all the detail is. So we're going to get into that. And it is several pages. I think it's 7 pages. And then typically you will then see the return, which is the third part, right? And that is usually an inventory of items that were seized or people who were incarcerated because of the search warrant. So why don't I go ahead and just zoom up on this so you guys can see it. In the warrant, this is the most important part for me. It is where the judge says that they can execute this warrant. And it is a wooden fixed structure, gray-brown in color, with a pitched roof and a cross on the roof. The front of the structure faces west and has 4 medium-sized windows facing north, 2 medium-sized windows and 1 small-sized window facing east, and 4 medium-sized windows facing south. The location is identified is 545 Bonanza Creek Road, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87508. The GPS location is identified as, and there are the coordinates. Now, this may seem to you guys that this is a little bit of an overkill to describe exactly what the search warrant entails or what it's authorizing the search of. But I'm actually, every time I read a search warrant, they're always this specific. And to me, I mean, obviously we all have rights given to us by the Constitution. So, well, Jefferson would argue that we have inalienable rights and government is there to protect those rights. But for the sake of this conversation, the Constitution gives us the protection against search and seizure, right? So anyway, if I could show you what what building they're talking about here. It's this one over in the right-hand side. This is Bonanza Creek Ranch. As you can see, it is a set. It's out in the middle of, you know, some acreage out in Santa Fe. And this is actually a set that is used frequently in Westerns. As a fan of Westerns myself, I recognize these buildings from a lot of different programs. So that's the building that that the judge authorized the search of. And then the warrant, basically, it is just the command to law enforcement to go ahead and make the search. They usually, in fact, always say it's between, you know, a certain time, unless they come back and get a second authorization. So, and it's signed by the judge right here. Okay, now the more important part, I think, is the affidavit, and it basically, it starts out with, here's where I want to be able to search, and then here are my reasons. Okay, so let me just kind of scroll down right to here. It says, and that the facts tending to establish the foregoing grounds for issuance of a search warrant are as follows. Affiant is a full-time certified peace officer, so he's saying, here's who I am, and this is why I'm authorized, or I should be authorized. And this is what he is asking to seize. He wants photographs of the exterior and interior of the structure, video cameras, videotapes, DVDs, DVRs that captures documents and records any video capture recorded during the filming of the movie Rust. So they're literally saying anything that is in there we want. Next, all computer hardware equipment and connector cables, including CPUs, monitors, modems, routers, keyboards, printers, computer scanner equipment, and or video transfer equipment and storage devices, including external and internal hard drives, cell phones, PDAs, capable of sending and receiving, blah, 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 CDs, DVDs, memory cards, and so forth. So pretty much anything that can hold any type of digital evidence he wants. Number 4, I want firearms, firearm components, documentation that establishes ownership of said firearms, ammunition, used or unused, whether it be live ammunition or prop ammunition, projectiles, casings, whether spent or unspent. Number 5, all cameras, digital cameras, film, memory cards used by cameras. Number 6, clothing, all the Old West clothing. Number 7, a scan of the scene by the Leica MS-60. So that is a 3D scan of the scene, which production houses use and helps them later on as they're doing VFX. Number 8, latent or visible prints, including fingerprints, footwear impressions. He wants fingerprints, palm prints, and or footprint standards sufficient for lab exams from any persons located at the herein described premises and or vehicles to be searched. So he's like, anybody who's there, I want fingerprints, palm prints, footprints. Number 10, bodily fluids, bodily tissues, and or bodily organs, including but not limited to saliva, semen, blood, bone fragments, skin, hair, and or any items that may have said items upon and or within them. That is actually pretty boilerplate. Obviously, there's probably not going to be semen involved in this case, but he wants everything that has any bodily fluid on it, including organs that may be at the scene. That tells me they've already seen the scene, right? They were called out there on an emergency, and so he knows what is there, and that's what he's requesting. Okay, residues apparently deposited by the discharge of firearms and or any explosions and or any items or any materials that have said items and or materials on or with them. Those will typically be swabs, items of clothing, things like that. Number 12, trace evidence, including but not limited to glass, hair, and or fibers, and or any items or materials that may have said items and or within. Okay, so that's everything that he wants. Now this is this is kind of the nitty gritty of the search warrant. This is the stuff that is going to tell us more about this case than anything that we've seen. One of the things that I've really struggled with and really hated about the reporting on this case is that reports have talked about the search warrant and what is contained therein, but they haven't actually shown the stupid search warrant. And it's much better to get it right from the horse's mouth than a reporter's interpretation. So let's go through the investigation and we'll talk about it as we go along. Okay, so Thursday, October 21, Sheriff's Office deputies were dispatched to the ranch in reference to an incident regarding a gunshot trauma. Santa Fe Regional Emergency Communications Center advised a male was accidentally shot by a prop gun, and it was unknown if it had been a live round used. We're gonna listen to that here in just a bit, okay? Upon arrival, Deputy Nicholas LaFleur advised one female had been shot in the chest and one male was shot in the shoulder area. The female was identified as cinematographer Halyna Hutchins. I spelled that wrong. That's okay. And she was transported via helicopter to the University of New Mexico Hospital, located in Albuquerque, New Mexico, for further medical care. The male identified as Joel Souza, who sustained a gunshot wound. Let me show you Joel Souza, who sustained a gunshot wound to the shoulder. He was transported via ambulance to Christus St. Vincent Hospital, located in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Upon arrival, affiant learned the location of the incident, and it was inside the structure that we already know about, GPS location. Affiant learned the firearm used during the incident was secured by arriving deputies along with the ammunition. During the filming of the movie, the assistant director, Dave Halls, grabbed one of 3 prop guns that was set up by the armorer, Hannah Gutierrez, which was on a cart. The cart is a gray in color rolling table with 2 layers and was left outside of the structure due to COVID-19 restrictions. Affiant learned one of the prop guns was then grabbed by the assistant director, Dave Halls. Let me show you Dave Halls while I read this. And he took it to the actor identified as Alec Baldwin. Everybody knows what Alec Baldwin looks like, but here's Alec Baldwin, who is inside of the structure. As the assistant director, Dave Halls, handed the gun to actor Alec Baldwin, Dave Halls yelled, "Cold gun," indicating the prop gun did not have any live rounds. Now, here's an important thing here, guys. Live rounds are, as defined by the movie industry, bullets, like actual bullets, and blanks. So basically, when he said cold gun, that meant there was nothing in it. Okay? All right. The prop gun was fired by the actor Alec Baldwin, striking the cinematographer identified as Halyna Hutchins and Joel Souza, the director who was behind the cinematographer, Halyna Hutchins. Affiant later learned the assistant director, Dave Halls, did not know live rounds were in the prop gun when he had given the prop gun to the actor Alec Baldwin. By the way, now, guys, just so you know, this is not a complete investigation. This is an initial investigation, right? So whether or not Dave Halls knew that there were rounds in the gun or not will be determined by a deeper investigation. By the way, just so you guys know, this assistant director, Dave Halls, was also on the crew of the second Crow movie that Brandon Lee was accidentally killed in, and it has been reported that that he wasn't, like, crew quit because safety protocol was not followed according to reports. So got a real problem with Dave Halls, I think, here. But okay. Affiant learned what had happened to the prop gun once it was fired. The prop gun was handled by the armorer, identified as Hannah Gutierrez, and given to the assistant director, Dave Halls. The armorer was given the prop gun after it was fired by the actor, Alec Baldwin. She then took the spent casing out of the prop gun when deputies arrived on scene. The prop gun was handled to arriving deputies by the armorer. Now, I think that right now is probably a good time to take a look at Google Images. And let me just show you what blanks look like versus a real bullet. Okay, this right here on the right hand side, that is a real bullet. And what happens when the primer is fired, the gunpowder explodes, this top projectile leaves the gun, right? And then these are spent casings of live rounds. This one on the left with the crimped top, and it looks like it has like a wax or a plastic topper on it. That is basically a bullet cartridge without the projectile, but it has a top shaped like the projectile so that it will operate within a real gun. So what happens is as the gunpowder explodes and the gases rush out, it uncrimps that top. And then depending on the gun, if it's a semi-automatic, they have to do special, they have to insert, I think it's called a BPA or something like that, a blank projectile assistance. Basically what it does is it makes it produces higher pressure within the barrel so that the semi-automatic will kick back and eject the casing. But when they're talking about spent casings, they could be talking about either one of these, whether it is a blank or a bullet. Okay, so let's go back to here. Okay, so let's see. She took the spent casing out of the prop gun when deputies arrived on scene. The prop gun was handled to arriving deputies by armorer. Now, I should point out here, guys, there are different styles of prop guns in movie making, and I'm going to get into this a little bit with my friend Kenny here in just a little bit, who is a filmmaker. Much of the time, they are actual guns, right? They are guns. So when we're talking about prop guns, we're not talking about something with an orange tip or something like that. We're talking about an actual gun here. I'm sure you guys already know that, but I thought that I'd point that out. Okay, Affiant learned the actor Alec Baldwin was wearing Old Western style clothing during the filming of the movie. Given the fact that actor Alec Baldwin was wearing Old Western style clothing during the filming, he changed into street clothes prior to leaving the scene, and the items were turned over to the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office evidence technician. These clothes appear to have blood stains. Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office evidence technician learned a Western style coat was left inside of the structure. That's why he's saying, I want stuff inside, I want the clothing inside the structure. It is important to gather any trace evidence, residue, or biological specimens that might be related to the incident. Affiant learned the incident occurred in close proximity, which can lead to transfer of evidence. He's talking about, if something is, like if a coat covered in blood is taken off and put on a table, it could transfer that biological evidence to a table. Same thing if there's gunshot residue, like on the sleeve or something like that, and it is thrown on the floor or put on a table, that can transfer. So they're probably going to go after everything. I've even seen evidence where they will cut part of the floorboard out for evidence. Okay, Affiant, which is the investigator in this case, was informed the prop gun was properly secured in a marked patrol unit along with other prop ammunition. The gray in color two-tier cart contained a Western-style belt and additional prop ammunition, which was secured by responding deputies. The cinematographer, Halyna Hutchins, who sustained a gunshot wound to the chest area, was later pronounced deceased at UNMH. On Friday, October 21st, 2021, at approximately 1 p.m., I made contact with Joel Souza, who sustained a gunshot wound to the right shoulder. Upon making contact, I did observe a visible injury to his right shoulder. Joel was given the opportunity to give a statement regarding the incident that occurred on Thursday, the 21st. Joel stated that the workday started at approximately 6:30 a.m. He went on to say that the crew usually meets and has breakfast on the property. During the morning hours, the day started off late due to a camera crew that had quit, and they had to find another camera crew to help film the movie. Now, I want to pause here for a second, and we'll go over this a little bit with Kenny later on. But keep in mind that when an investigator is writing an affidavit, he or she is doing it to the best of their knowledge to understand the scene. In this case, it may have been a camera crew. It may have been the safety crew, right? It could have been, it could have just been the camera crew. I guess I'm just pointing out that he probably doesn't understand the industry super well. So it may have been the safety crew that quit. And there were a lot of rumors going around the industry stating that there were issues with safety on set. So I just wanted to point that one out. Okay, so Joel said once they hired another camera crew to assist, the day was taking longer than usual because they only had one camera to do the filming. Joel was asked, so that tells me, guys, that a crew large enough to have multiple cameras all walked off the set, and the crew that they were able to find to come onto the set was only enough to handle one camera. That's what I infer from that. Joel was asked about the employees' behavior, and he said everyone was getting along. There were no altercations that took place to his knowledge, which is interesting. But it's possible for a crew to leave without there being an altercation. He stated that because of his job, he was more concentrated on the monitors of the cameras and screens. He did state that no film was being recorded because the crew was working on getting the scene ready for the movie, and how they were going to set up the one camera that was available to them. Again, I'm inferring that the crew that left was larger than just a one camera crew. Joel said he was standing beside cinematographer Halyna Hutchins, viewing the camera angle on camera lens. The rehearsal took place inside the church building, where actor Alec Baldwin was sitting on a wooden pew facing south towards the camera and crew. Joel said the rehearsal entailed actor Alec Baldwin cross-drawing his weapon and pointing the revolver towards the camera lens. A cross-draw, guys, I mean, I'm not a complete expert on guns, but a cross-draw comes across your body. It's usually like, well, in the Old West, there were some gunfighters that would put their guns backwards in their holster. It's also considered a cross-draw if you're reaching for a shoulder holster. So some kind of that kind of movement. According to Joel, it was his belief the gun being used in the rehearsal was safe, and used the term cold gun when explaining the firearm safety announcements. He said he remembered the phrase cold gun being said while preparing for the scene. Joel explained what he knows about the firearm safety. He said that he knows is 3 people had been handling the guns or firearms for the scenes. He said the firearms are checked by Hannah, who is the armorer, and then the firearm is checked by the assistant director, Dave Halls, who then gives it to the actor using the firearm. Joel said as far as he knows, no one gets checked for live ammunition on their person prior or after the scenes are being filmed. The only thing checked are the firearms to avoid live ammunition being in them. Joel stated there should never be live rounds whatsoever near or around the scene. Hey, let me just offer a commentary on this, and I'm not sure that I'm right or not, but so I began my life partly in a farming community where guns were just a part of life. And where we live now here in Pennsylvania, it's the same sort of thing. Hunting is a thing that most people engage in, and firearms are just part of life. Now, in our house, we have firearms. I'm 46 years old, and for the last 38 years, I've been safely using firearms. In the time that I have been doing that, for the most part, the people that I have known to be of a, I don't know how to say this right, but people who are a little more artistic in nature, people like my friend Kenny, who I'm going to show you an interview of, and I've got a couple of brothers-in-law like this that are a little more artistic in nature. Guns are not part of their lives, right? They're just, they avoid them, or they're not interested in them. It's just not one of their things, right? So if I were handed a firearm in any circumstance, the very first thing I do is safely check to see if there's anything in that gun. And that's the very first thing that I do, and it is the very first thing that any safe user of firearms would do. Now, in this industry, I'm sure the industry is full of people who just don't spend that much time handling guns. And that's why they have these types of protocol, so that things like this don't happen. But anyway, I am pretty sure that Alec Baldwin had no idea that I just don't think that he would have slipped into his pocket and put a live round into the gun, as you know, they asked the director. I just don't think it's part of his world. I don't think guns are part of his world, and for that, I don't think he would have checked either. That's just me, but that's what I believe. Okay, let's see. Joel explained that prior to the discharge of the firearm by actor Alec Baldwin, they had been working on preparing for the scene before lunch. Joel said they broke for lunch around 12:30 p.m. and had to be shuttled away to an area away from the set to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Joel advised they returned back to the set after lunch, although he is not sure if the firearm was checked again. Joel stated they had Alex sitting in a pew in a church building setting, and he was practicing a cross draw. Joel said he was looking up over the shoulder of Halyna when he heard what sounded like a whip and then loud pop. Joel then vaguely remembers Halyna complaining about her stomach and grabbing her midsection. Joel also said Halyna began to stumble backwards and she was assisted to the ground. Joel explained that he was bleeding from his shoulder and he could see blood on Halyna. So this paragraph makes me believe, see, in the case of Brandon Lee, for example, who died as a result of a gun accident on the second installment of The Crow, in that case, he wasn't shot with a live round. He was shot with a blank, but in the barrel of the gun were remnants that basically became projectiles when they were fired. In this case, I believe the bullet, it went through two people, at least through one and into another, right? And I think probably through. It may have gone through camera equipment, tripods or monitors or something like that as well. So that leads me to believe that this is a bullet, not a fragment. This is a different accident, in my opinion, than the one that happened to Brandon Lee. Let's see. Once I completed my interview with Joel, I made contact with Reed Russell, who is identified as a cameraman who was standing next to Joel and Halyna at the time of the incident. While speaking to Reed, he stated he arrived early to eat breakfast on the day of the incident. Reed told me he had much work to complete due to a camera crew of about 6 individuals walking out of the film. So that tells us. So that crew of 6 people left. There may have been others as well, but definitely a camera crew of 6 people left. Reed stated the camera crew was having issues with production involving payment and housing. Ah, well, that's interesting because what has been reported is that there were safety concerns on the set, and that's why people were leaving. But according to Reed Russell, it was a matter of accommodations and payment. And if they weren't getting paid, they weren't going to work, I guess, right? So, let's see. Reed also said that the camera crew that walked out on the film wrote a letter to production on disagreements. So they may have had other issues. Reed said while he was working with the camera in the setting for the movie, he'd stepped out for about 5 minutes after returning from lunch. He said when he had returned back into the setting for the scene, Alec, Joel, and Halyna were already in possession of the firearm and had been preparing for the scene. He was not sure if the firearm had been checked due to his absence of the 5 minutes. Reed went on to say that while setting up his camera, there was no video or audio being filmed, which we learned from Joel as well, as it was just preparation of the scene and setting. Reed said while preparing, there was a shadow coming from the outside light, and they had to move the camera at a different angle from Alec. He said Alec was trying to explain how he was going to draw out the firearm and where his arm would be at when the firearm was pulled from the holster. Reed was not sure why the firearm was discharged and just remembered the loud bang from the firearm. Reed said after the firearm was discharged, he remembered Joel having blood on his person and Halyna speaking and saying she couldn't feel her legs. Reed stated once Halyna was on the ground, medics began to treat her injury and she was bleeding while on the floor of the building they were in. So there's a lot of biological evidence in this one, guys. We're getting close to being done. Reed was asked about the behavior of the people involved in the setting of the scene. He said everyone seemed to be getting along. I mean, I guess he's talking about the people that are left, right? Everybody else had disagreements, but maybe they had been getting along too. They just had an issue. He was asked about Alec and the firearm and how he handled the firearm. Reed said Alec had been very careful and brought up an instance when a scene was being filmed earlier. Reed said Alec had made sure it was safe and that a child wasn't near him when they were discharging a firearm during that scene. On October 22nd, 2021, detectives executed a search warrant at 545 Bonanza Creek Road. Guys, I believe that is the other search warrant that we don't have. It's not this search warrant. It's the other one. They did find blood in the area where the incident took place, the incident where a firearm was discharged and 2 people were wounded and bleeding. The findings in the warrant corroborate statements about the injuries and the incident that took place. So there probably was a return on that already. Affian is aware additional... So he's just going to finish up stating why, why he has probable cause for this warrant. The other thing that I thought that was important was Affian is aware people involved in the commission of crimes often attempt to conceal, tamper with, and or dispose of evidence, including but not limited to the herein described items to be seized. So he is concerned that there will be evidence tampering or destruction, and that's why he wants to get this this search warrant. Now, just so you know, while he was doing this, likely there were deputies and other law enforcement on set making sure that nothing was going to disappear or change. So I'm sure that they quickly got this done. So he requests the warrant, and that is the entire affidavit. Okay, I will post a link to this in the description below so that you guys can download the affidavit and the search warrant. And as I gather more documents on this case, I will put a link to them as well. But for now, what I want to do is I want to show you an interview that I did earlier today with my friend Kenny Ballantyne. Now, before I show you this, Kenny was like, you don't need to introduce me or anything like that, but I just want to give you his bona fides, okay? Kenny is somebody who I've known for a number of years. We started working together professionally when I hired him to do commercials for my employer at the time. and he did excellent work. And then I learned of his documentary filmmaking, and I'm proud of him. You guys should take a look at the last one that was a feature-length documentary that he did was called Estamos Aquí. And that one, the initial screening of that documentary was hosted by the White House. And so, I mean, he's the real deal. He does terrific work. He knows what he's talking about. So I just want to give you that heads up before I show you this interview. So here we go. I'd like to welcome to the program a personal friend, an old friend of mine, Kenny Ballantyne. Kenny is a filmmaker. He is he's a close friend. Before I moved out here to Pennsylvania, Kenny and I actually shared an office space. And Kenny, it's really funny because I am often asked on my website and on the YouTube channel, how do I get my background so black? And I usually take credit for it. But now that you're here, I should tell everybody Kenny taught me how to do this. So welcome to my channel, Kenny. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much. It's been really fun to watch your channel first come into existence and start to grow. You guys do a really good job. Thank you.
Hey, so as you know, the reason that I wanted to bring you on was to talk about the incident that happened out in Santa Fe, New Mexico, on the set of Rust, where the cinematographer, Halyna Hutchins, was killed in what some think was an accident. Some people think there might be something more nefarious involved. The director, Joel Souza, was also injured in this. And so I thought that I would bring on somebody who has been on set on shoots where there are guns. Can you tell us, I guess, in general, what is it like to be on set on a project where there are guns?
Right. So I've been on almost all scales of movie productions, right? So from the guerrilla level where you're funding it out of your shoebox and all the way up to the large scale. And no matter the level, whenever there's been guns involved, it's something everybody takes very, very, very seriously. And if you are on a legit professional production, there are very, very specific protocols that absolutely are adhered to no matter what. The first shoot that I was on that had firearms involved, I was just a production assistant. This was like 10 years ago. And it was the first time I had been around guns on a set. And I just remember the entire chemistry of the set changed on the day of the shooting scene, right? Of the gun scene. Well, film sets are fun, can be fun places. There could be all manner of levity, debauchery, joking around going on a film set. But even with the sort of like more wild types on the crew, everyone takes gun day very seriously. You don't joke. There was a sense of, if I make a joke about what's going on right now, I will be fired and asked never to come back, kind of thing.
With the amount of movies that are churned out of LA and everywhere else in the world, and the sheer quantity of them that involve guns in various, levels of screen time, I guess I'd say, there's some where there's just a gun in the scene. And then there's some that the entire movie is nothing but gunfire, right? It's actually pretty amazing that there are only a few incidents where there have been injuries or death on, while they're making a movie. I'm actually pretty shocked. I could only find 2 prior to this incident.
Yeah. And that's because there's a lot of levels of redundancy that are planned into all the safety measures on a film set. So typically, as long as you're a fully fledged, totally funded production, you would have a safety manager who sort of oversees all aspects of safety on a set. You would have an armory master who's in charge of all the firearms. And one of the sort of the biggest part of their job is keeping a strict inventory of all the guns, knowing where they are at all times. He's the one making sure they are locked up and away from everyone else until they are needed. And usually they are only sort of signed out to the safety manager, right?
Okay.
And then there's extensive training for whoever is going to be using the gun and whoever might be on the other end of that gun in a scene. Common protocol is also that whatever actors or crew are going to be in or around the gun when it's discharged will be present when the gun is loaded with blanks. So you have multiple witnesses watching. It's in many different union contracts that you have that right as a crew member or an actor to request that at the very least, whether or not that's always.
The idea being so that you feel safe.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw blanks put in, so therefore I feel okay standing here in the line of.
Now, what is your thought as far as, is it possible to mistake an actual bullet with a blank cartridge?
Yeah, I hear this a lot because and people have this idea that you could just sort of accidentally put a bullet into a gun and not know that it was an actual bullet, not a blank. And you could only really do that if you just weren't paying attention. And again, the point of all these protocols is paying close attention. A blank does not look like a bullet. It has a very different tip. A bullet has what's clearly a piece that separates from the shell, right?
Right.
Whereas a blank, it's all kind of one piece and has a very strange end to it. The end is often a different color. You'd have to accidentally put a real bullet in a gun. You'd have to be kind of mindless about what you're doing. And
the point of all the rules and
extreme mindfulness is the name of the game with this kind of stuff. Yeah. So, I mean, with what happened, if you have a fully staffed production and everyone's doing what they're supposed to do, there should be no gap. There should be no space where an accident can happen. Now, there have been instances where the proper bullet, a blank, was put into a gun, and safety protocols were followed from that point forward. But the missing part was that there was some shrapnel, a piece of something inside the barrel of the gun. Now, a blank explodes just like any other bullet does. And if there's something in the barrel of the gun, it will fly out of the gun at high speed and can be lethal, which is what happened with Brandon Lee. Right.
Yeah.
So part of it is, it's not just making sure blanks are loaded. It's also inspecting the firearm, checking that the full length of it is clear and empty and should do what it's supposed to do.
Now, are there rules as far as, like, one of the things that bothers me, and you'll know this, I'm not like a total gun enthusiast, but I own guns and I've been using them since I was a little kid, right? And so I understand gun safety. So I don't know why I'm complaining about what I'm about to complain about, but oftentimes when I watch a movie, you can tell that they're using a funny camera angle so that it looks like an actor is pointing the gun at another actor, but you can tell that they're not actually. Is that one of those rules on set, like to never, point a gun actually at another person on set?
No, it's not necessarily a rule, but there are reasons why they might do that. So for example, you hear a lot of actresses and actors that have like a no nudity clause in their contract. Some people could very reasonably stipulate that they don't want firearms ever pointed at their actual body. You also have situations where people make certain adjustments to how they're going to shoot the movie to have better insurance or to appease laws of the land where they're shooting. If you're going to other countries, you end up with different rules about firearms and weapons, things like that. So there are reasons why you might have to figure out how to shoot your scene without actually pointing guns at people.
Mm.
But no, the answer is certainly there are movies where they do point guns directly at people, sometimes very, very close to other people where you couldn't really fake it with the camera angle.
Right. Okay. So there is this term that is used in the affidavit. It's been widely reported, and that is that the assistant director, I think is what they called him, when he handed the gun to Alec Baldwin, he said cold gun. Now, in my mind, a blank is not cold, right? A blank is most of a bullet.
Yes.
So am I right in understanding if he were to say this is a cold gun, that means there is nothing inside it?
That's correct. Cold gun means nothing. Hot gun means almost always means blanks, because like we were discussing before we began recording the call, that there are very few instances where you would actually have real ammunition on a film set. You know, there are some pretty unique exceptions, but yeah, the hot gun, cold gun is literally saying this can go boom or will not go boom.
So would it have been his responsibility when he picked it up to open it and make sure that there is nothing in there before he pronounces it as a cold gun?
It really depends on where he got it from, you know, and what the protocols were on that set. You know, if there was a designated place where, say, the armorer or the sometimes you just have a firearm specialist or a safety manager puts a cold gun or a warm gun, you know, to already say that this is where the hot gun is locked down and is not to be touched until it's picked up by the assistant director, sort of thing. I don't know. So I can't say it's for sure his fault, but certainly someone in the chain of command would have inspected that ahead of time, for sure. 100%. I understand they had a crew switch over very shortly before then.
That's what the affidavit says, is that they had a camera crew quit. And so the day had started late because they had to bring in another camera crew. So I try not to go into what I call speculationville on this sort of stuff, because I don't find it either.
Well, I only bring it up. So I'm certainly not going to make a call on, I have no idea what happened there that day.
Yeah.
But if a camera crew switched out, it shouldn't have affected anything. If the safety crew or the entire productions crew changed out, and it might be the writer of the affidavit might just be using the wrong language for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if someone who was in that chain of command of safety protocols was part of that walkout, which wouldn't surprise me, because rumor has it walkouts were occurring over safety concerns.
That's right? What I understand.
And those people weren't replaced with an adequate certified person with the same protocols in mind that had already been in place for that set, you know, then that's where there could have been a shortfalling of some kind. You know, you go from having...
Well, I'll share my thought on this.
Yeah.
So when I first read what had happened, that the cinematographer had been shot in the chest. In the affidavit, it describes her as having grabbed her stomach. So we don't know if let's just say torso. She was shot in the torso. And then the director was shot in the shoulder. And the way it's described, it appears that Alec Baldwin did a cross draw and was shooting toward the camera in a rehearsal, right? So my thought is, if it's going through equipment and two people, I don't think that this is just an accidental blank, you know, with a little bit of debris in the barrel. To me, that sounds like what a .45 caliber slug would do.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know a lot about guns. So I'm not much of a gun enthusiast, but I'd assume you're correct on that.
Yeah, it's a pretty sad story. Well, hey man, I really appreciate you taking the time and coming on with me. Your insight has been great. Anybody who is watching this, check out Kenny's stuff. I might talk you up a little bit off camera, Kenny. I know that you're like, I don't want to promote anything, but telling you guys, Kenny is a talented filmmaker and his documentaries are amazing. I'll put a link to his stuff. You guys will like it. Thanks, Kenny.
Thanks a lot, Gavin.
Special thanks to Kenny Ballantyne for joining me and answering some of those questions that I had asked. It's good to know kind of what the policies and procedures are on set for those of us who most of the time aren't on movie sets, by somebody who frequently is. Guys, I will follow up this video. Like I said before, I will continue to try to get my hands on the other search warrant and the warrant return report. And then the other thing that I have, but I did not prepare for this video and it's already going long, I think we're like 50 minutes into this now already, is the 911 call. So we will go over the 911 call in another video. If you have questions that you would like me to find answers to, please put them in the comments below. And if you've made it this far where you're 50 minutes into this video and you have not subscribed to my channel, I think that you are invested. I think you should go ahead and do that if you think that I deserve it. And again, I ask that if you don't like the video, please give it a thumbs down. But if you do, give it a thumbs up. That helps me to know the kind of content that I should be making. And with that, I think I'm going to call it the end of this video, but I will be keeping my eye on the comment section for any questions or maybe insights that I should, or angles I should be looking at in this case. So with that, I will bid you adieu, and I hope to see you the next time. Take care. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe to my channel. And if you have any comments or questions, please leave them below.